In a country with a dark history of genocide, how do you ensure that its future is brighter than its past? How do you help its most vulnerable people, the rural Indigenous communities? When faced with severe malnutrition and lack of education, how can they thrive in an ever-evolving world? These are questions we were faced with as our journey brought us to Guatemala. The search for answers brought us to Heather and Casa Guatemala. Casa Guatemala has been tackling these major issues and providing opportunities to generations of children. For over 40 years, they have been slowly shaping the future of this country, changing the world, one child at a time. Hey, I'm Derek.
And I'm Carine.
We're travelers who long to create a deeper connection with the places we travel to and the people we meet along the way. We believe that every story has the power to inspire, to educate, and to connect us all. Each story allows us to connect deeper with the people and the communities that we encounter.
In this series, we dive deeper into the people, communities, and organizations looking to make a positive change in their world. We're constantly in awe of their stories, their resilience, and their unwavering dedication to fight for good, allowing us to connect thoughts, connect hearts, and connect worlds. This is Connecting Worlds, Stories of Positive Impact.
Casa Guatemala is always been kind of like a refuge for kids in need. Our focus is really kids from communities that don't necessarily have access to education more than anything now. So a lot of the kids that are coming from Indigenous communities that are really kind of isolated, that don't necessarily have a school or have a very underfunded school. We offer free housing for the kids to come and study here with us. They receive all of their education, their meals, all of the school supplies, all of the books, everything is included. I think that really just offers the chance for families to change where they're at economically, and it changes whole communities. And at the end of the day, you know, we're changing the world one child at a time. I really feel like having access to education makes much larger impact within the communities that we're working with, and that's what we want to do. As much as there have been great strides made here in Guatemala to have access to education for everyone and have the importance of education be there for others, for schools and for villages, there are a lot of kids that still fall through the cracks. Not finishing the 6th grade is a statistic here for a large number of kids, especially in rural communities, especially for rural Indigenous girls. The longer we can keep kids in school, the longer we have the girls at school, the more we're changing the dynamics of who they become as adults and the skill sets that they have and the access to resources that they're able to attain.
¿Cuánto tiempo haces que estás aquí en Casa Guatemala?
6 años estuve ahí cuando estaba pequeño.
Okay.
Tuve 6 años. Ahí tuve mi infancia, ahí crecí. Y vine yo también junto con mi otro hermano. Y como ya cumplí los 18 años el año pasado, comencé a trabajar este año aquí.
¿Y qué estudias en el colegio?
Yo ahorita estoy estudiando diversificado quinto mecánica.
Ah, ok.
Sí.
¿Y es lo que quieres hacer cuando estás grande?
Sí, tener mi propio taller y todo.
Ah, ¿sí?
Sí.
Ok. ¿Piensas que si no hay Casa Guatemala, tu vida va a ser como muy diferente?
Pues gracias a Casa Guatemala ahorita soy lo que soy. Ahorita me dieron la oportunidad de recibirme allá. Los 6 años que estuve ahí estudiando de primaria.
Tell us a bit about the housing and how that works.
It's kind of like a pretty fun housing environment. They get up in the morning, they have like their little chores, make their bed, and like, you know, mop the floors, sweep the floors. Everyone takes turns. There's little like chore charts and stuff that they do when they get ready, and then they go have breakfast and then come back and then head to school in the morning. We try to make a real family event because they are here without their families for most of the year, and so, or at least the school year, and that's tough. So we hire people that are basically their house parents. So they're here, especially with the little kids. We always make sure that the people that we're hiring speak Quechua as well, because a lot of times the little kids may have not had any experience speaking Spanish yet. So that's really important for them to have that, and also the aspect of having someone within their culture and within their community here with them, I think is really important, because we want to make sure that that's something that we continue to show the value of, and that they're not losing that sense of who they are. They really form a huge bond. A lot of them have worked with us for a long time, and so they've seen kids go from the little boys to the big boys to graduation and to moving on, and kind of continue to have relationships with them even outside of here. It's pretty fun. So when they're not in school, we try to make sure that there's an equal balance of like fun activities. In the weekends, there's always like activities. We have like movie nights and storytelling, and you know, it's trying to make sure that they feel at home. At least once a month, we have like family visits where the families come in and have a chance for the families to be together.
Hasta mañana.
Y aunque no son hermanos, pero como viven en una sola casa, obviamente ellos son una familia.
Claro.
Ajá, siempre les he dicho de que pelear no es bueno, que pelear o decir malas palabras no es de Dios.
Me gusta vivir aquí, aprendo muchas cosas bonitas.
¿Sí?
Sí.
¿Y tienes amigos aquí?
Sí,
Sí.
son ellos.
¿Qué es la parte favorita de Casa Guatemala?
Fútbol, divertirme bien,
¿Y la escuela?
bien.
¿También?
Sí.
Ok.
Bien, ¿y tú? Quiero hamburguesa. So obviously one of the most important things of any child's upbringing is nutrition. You mentioned that that's one of the focal points of Casa Guatemala, so why don't you talk to us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, here in Guatemala, it's a major factor. If you look at the statistics, there's over 45% of children under the age of 5 are chronically malnourished. It's one of our goals to make sure that our kids are strong and healthy, and it's kind of like those 3 fundamental bases. Like, to have your base, you have education, you need to have strong and healthy bodies and strong and healthy minds. So we like to make sure they're well fed. We don't have a lot of meat. We have meat more on special occasions. Like, so we'll have chicken a couple of times a month, or at Christmas time, we'll like kill a pig to make tortillas or tamales. We have tortillas every day.
Pig tortillas.
Yeah, but we do have tamales at Christmas on special occasions. So whenever there's like a special event is when we'll kind of have meat. But generally speaking, we're pretty vegetarian.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily by choice. There's a lot of need for people to have a balanced diet here.
¿Cuál es la cosa más favorita de trabajar aquí?
Compartir con los niños, prepararles los alimentos y ver que ellos se comen la comida feliz. Sí. Pues aquí les cocinamos de todo un poco, variedad. En sí les gusta casi todo.
Ah, sí. Ok. So one of the main aspects of what Casa Guatemala does is take care of the kids' health. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. We have our clinic here. It's always been part of what we do since we started off as a home for kind of, malnourished children. Healthcare has been a big part of what we do. And it's also, you can't really have a successful child without that education, the nutrition, and the healthcare. We do have a full-time Indigenous nurse that's here. She speaks Quechua as well, so that when mothers come from the villages, because we serve the surrounding villages as well, she has her full-time job. And because, there's obviously not a stream of children that are sick all the time, she also works in the houses with the kids and in the classrooms doing workshops. So they're learning about like their bodies and the reproductive systems and kind of like, health and sex education at the right level, so that, we're making sure we are turning out kids that have good self-autonomy and know who they are, how their bodies work, and kind of making sure that with that information, they're better equipped to plan their family in the future and kind of know how to take care of their bodies.
Soy la enfermera de esta clínica, los que atiendo, diagnóstico, cuido a los niños.
¿Y cuál es la parte favorita de tu trabajo?
Es cuando los niños llegan acá y a veces dicen que me duele la cabeza, dicen, y no tienen dolor, va, y entonces le quitamos la cabeza, y dicen, no, decían, ya no me duele, dicen.
Solamente quieren venir aquí contigo.
All right, Heather, so tell us about the school. Obviously, this is one of the biggest aspects of what Casa Guatemala does. So tell us the importance of the education, what you do to educate the children, and all that good stuff.
Well, I mean, education, of course, in my mind, and I think it is a general kind of consensus, is the key to development. It's the key to change. I mean, it's really what empowers people. It empowers especially girls all over the world, access to education. And that's a big part of what we do, and that's what we want to be able to always kind of push forward as our legacy is being at the forefront of that access to education for kids. So here at Casa Guatemala, we have our pre-kinder program, which is like junior and senior kindergarten, and those are the little ones. They don't live on site. They come back and forth just because they're too small to kind of be away from home. And then we have 1st through 6th grade, so elementary school. It's here at Casa Guatemala. But our most important aspect is just to make sure it's accessible so that the people that don't have access to education are able to afford to send all of their kids to school. It's horrible to think of families picking which of their children are going to get to go to school. And in the past, it's always mostly been, let's send a boy to school. A girl can learn what she needs to learn at home. So we're stopping that cycle and kind of changing that up.
Ya son 23 años, es ver pasar caras nuevas cada año y que esas caras te recuerden cuando te ven allá afuera. Entonces eso es lo más emocionante que uno a lo largo del tiempo llega a experimentar. El tiempo ha ido cambiando. Creo de que antes los años eran diferentes porque trabajábamos más con niños de institución y ya de un tiempo para acá pues hemos trabajado solamente por convenio familiar. Esto ayuda bastante por el tema del contacto que se tiene con las familias, ir conociendo las necesidades que ellos tienen como familia, como comunidades también, porque no solamente apoyamos en sí a los niños, sino también a sus padres, y esto pues implica un cambio también dentro de su comunidad. Entonces el trabajo ha sido diferente durante el recorrido que llevo yo aquí dentro de Casa Guatemala, y creo que esos cambios han sido para bien. Ya no es Casa Guatemala únicamente enfocado a ciertos niños que el gobierno daba, sino que ahora va más enfocado a cambiar las mentalidades de los niños para beneficio de sus propias comunidades.
So how many kids have come through Casa Guatemala?
Well, we've been around for 45 years. So in those 45 years, we'll be 46 this year, it's thousands of kids. It's generations of kids. I know families of generations that have been through school at Casa Guatemala.
What is your proudest achievement with Casa Guatemala?
The proudest I am of our achievements at Casa Guatemala is when we can clearly see cycles broken. Especially when you look at the children that came to us through the government, through the system, kids that were being taken away from their families because of violence and abuse. To see them as adults that are successful and loving parents that have kind of broken that cycle of abuse is, to me, our biggest goal and our biggest achievement.
What are the biggest challenges you guys face?
We've always struggled to make ends meet. We're an organization that really gets by month. It would be great to simply have like a year's budget in the bank and ready to move forward. But that said, I still know that, we're able to get by, and even with our limited resources, we're very good at making do and kind of making things work with what we have. So our challenges are also what makes us the most perseverant, I suppose.
What are your hopes, I guess, for the future generations of Guatemalans?
I always say that if we're doing a really good job, we put ourselves out of business. And eventually that Casa Guatemala doesn't need us, that the kids of Guatemala don't need us. And more kids having access, more families not having to make difficult decisions of kids being able to go to school or not, whether they're sending their kids, and really have the opportunity to get an education, but also not lose sight of what the importance of their culture and the value of the communities that they come from are. It's great to have an education, but if you can't live in your own community and be part of something at home without having to go away to work in a city or turn your community into more of a capitalism-based system to make it work and cut down all the trees, and that's not what I'd like to see. So something where you can kind of have a sustainable culture along with the ability to grow and prosper.
By providing a home and an education to the future generations of Guatemalans, the fate of this country has never looked brighter. Heather and the countless people involved with Casa Guatemala are literally changing the lives of hundreds of children every year, giving them opportunities they otherwise wouldn't have, providing them with the tools they need, and emphasizing the importance of community. Casa Guatemala is shaping the future not only of these children, but of the whole country.